Hi, I'm Rick Dior, and that was a tune called Secret Love, one of my favorite standards. That song's written by Sammy Fain way back in the day, and that arrangement was by Greg Yazinski, and it's from a book called Sittin with the Big Band. I believe it's volume 2. So this series is going to be about playing big band charts and reading big band charts. And it's very, very important, not only because if you want to play in a big band professionally, you're going to need to be able to do this, but also because this kind of written out drum set music is really common in theater profession. In other words, if you're playing drums for any kind of musical, it's very common to have big band style tunes in there. Also, orchestras all the time, pops concerts, Christmas concerts. We're in the middle of that right now. Lots and lots of big band. Now, I've already done kind of a big band playlist here where I went through some more advanced big band things from the Gordon Goodwin book. But this time we're going to do some simpler charts, charts that I use with my students. Now, these are by no means beginner kind of things. In other words, you got to have a lot of technique to play these anyway, but they are beginner big band charts. They're not that complex. There's a lot of really complex big band music out there right now. So we're going to focus this series on playing the easier stuff and reading it as well and show you how I do it. Before we do that, in this opening video to this series, I'm going to talk about some of the books that I like to use for this. So I have a stack down here. Let me grab them. So it's a large stack of books, but these are books that I use. I bring them in and out of rotation with my college students and my private students, my online students. And these are all great books, and I have not written any of them, and I don't have any affiliation with the publishers or anything. I just really like the books. So the first one that I'm going to recommend is The Jazz Drummer's Reading Workbook by Tom Morgan. This is a really great book. It's published by Carl Allen. And this basically breaks down figures so you can play over and over with them. It's got a couple CDs that come with it. It's really a well-written book, and it's one of my favorites for teaching students how to catch figures and how to read big band music. It also has a couple play-along tunes in there. The next one, which I think is a really great book, is this Steve Fiddick book called Inside the Big Band Drum Chart. Now, this is a large book. It's very, very detailed. It's great. It might be a little more advanced, so I'm not sure I would start with this, but I definitely have used it. Now, one of my favorite books, but not nearly as well written as far as giving specific examples, is this old book by Mel Lewis and Clem DeRosa called It's Time for the Big Band Drummer. Not sure it's still in print, probably not, but you can probably get a digital version of it. And this is great because it takes lots of Thad Jones, Mel Lewis solos or tunes and basically writes them out. There's no play along, but you can get the CDs or you can listen to it on Spotify or Apple Music. And a lot of these tunes are more complex, but he does talk about, the equipment he uses. This is Mel Lewis, of course, who has passed, but one of the greatest big band drummers of all time. And he does talk about some specifics. But the great thing is the breakdowns of the charts, like Cherry Juice, which is a great chart, and he tells you what he's doing where and why. So this is definitely worth checking out. I also really like these Peter Erskine books, the Drum Set Essentials. There's 3 of these, and volumes 2 and 3 start working with big band music and charts and lead sheets. So I like those books a lot. So some play-along books include this Louis Bellson book, Their Time Was the Greatest. Now, the time's not the greatest on the CD because they didn't use a click, but there are really good charts, and of course, Louis was a great drummer. You don't really hear him play on this, but there's a separate version available if you want to get that just has drums in the band. So that's got some good stuff. Another one is this Steve Houghton drum set anthology that has all kinds of charts, including some good bassy charts in here. So that's something worth checking out. Some other great play-along books, like I said, this is the Sittin' In with the Big Band, like we talked about. And let's see if this tune is in Volume 2 or 1. Yeah, it is in Volume 2, The Secret Love that I just played. And of course, the Gordon Goodwin books, which I've played some of these already on my big band playlist. Both 1 and 2, these are great books, great band, great arrangements, more advanced. I really like this Irv Kotler book, maybe hard to find. Has a CD, it's all the Frank Sinatra stuff. You'll definitely be doing this in your career if you're a professional. I've played these lots and lots of times with orchestras and, Frank Sinatra personalities, in other words, guys who impersonate him. And then there's my old drum set reading book. This is the book I used when I was a kid in the 70s, and it's the Ron Fink drum set reading book. Doesn't have any kind of play along, but has a lot of good figures in it. So that's lots and lots of books. You don't need to get them all and break the bank, but these are what I use to teach. So let's talk about this chart a little, and we'll just talk through it and talk about the way it's written out. First of all, when you look at a big band chart, the first thing you're going to look at is the tempo. So this says up-tempo swing. Now, I would not necessarily call this up-tempo. I'd call it kind of medium up-tempo. It's not real fast. And as all these play-alongs, that you're not leading the band. So you have to kind of imagine that when you're playing, that you're actually in charge there with the time, but you're not. So there's different things that happen with these play-alongs. Sometimes the brass might be a little behind or whatever situation they recorded it in. But they did record this with the drummer, and there are demos on these play-alongs books. So you have this up-tempo swing, and then you have these slashes. So that's telling me right from the beginning I'm playing time. And normally in these kind of standard big band charts, you'll have an introduction. In this case, it's about 8 bars, and then at bar 9 we get into the tune, and that's where the trombones play the melody there. And I've taken the liberty of writing in a lot of figures that the arranger did not write in. That's very common, where you get a bare bones drum chart, and there's a lot of things not written in. So if I'm doing this professionally with a tune that I'm going to do over and over again, I will take the lead alto part and the lead trumpet part, I'll borrow those, or the score, and I'll write in some things that are important that get left out. So you'll see here and there that the arranger writes fill. Now that doesn't mean solo. Fill is just fill up some space, maybe break away from the time for a second, but everything needs to be in time and flowing. So that's really important. So you'll see that on this chart, lots and lots. And it always follows the form of the standard Secret Love. So that's, the solos and the arrangement, everything will follow that particular form. Now let's look at some important things in this chart that you should know. 2 before 57, we break, and when you see those rests, you stop playing. That's very important. So if you're not going to catch the figures the first time, you need to stop and make sure you know where you are in the chart. The goal is to learn how to read well enough so the first time you play it is the best time you play it. And then at 57, we want to do a big explosion, a fill into that first beat, and then that band plays that second beat. So we have a break like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And that's the first big figure there. Now, a lot of times they'd write those big figures on the staff. But in this case, in these books, most of them are written above the staff. So don't let that confuse you. Then we have a little break there at 81 where the brass is out, and the rhythm section's out, sorry. And then you come in, and before you come in there, I like to do a little hint so the band comes in with you. So there I did just a little buzz. You can do a little thing like that just to get the band in there. And remember, one of your main goals here is to make the band sound good, sound better. So anything you could do, set up figures, little cues to help them, you need to do that. They'll love you for it. Before that, we did have a sax soli section at 57. Now there I like to use a a swish or a China cymbal. Mel Lewis used to do that a lot. I really like that sound under sax soli sections. By soli, I mean the whole section is playing together. So that's a sound that I like, and that's sort of almost a traditional thing at this point. So for different soloists, different sections, I switch cymbals. So during this bone solo at 97, you'll hear me go to this, or you heard me go to this 18-inch cymbal that's got a little more definition under that trombone solo. So we do the trombone solo with some backgrounds, and then we get to your solo, which goes for 4 bars. And it's very important to build excitement there and keep up the flow. But right before bar 132, you want to get off on 3 because the band has a hit on bar 131 on 4. So let me just play through that solo and show you what I do. I'll play a couple bars of time. So whatever you play there, it's got to be simple enough that the band can follow it. And then you need to get off on 3, like I said, and then hit 4 so the band knows to get in. And then at bar 132, we have the first big shout ensemble section. And that's pretty much your spot there as the drummer, so you could fill that up and make that really exciting. And it repeats twice, so the second time can make it even more exciting. And then it comes back down and goes back to the main tune again. Again, this is a common big band form, almost like a formula, where they do these standard kinds of charts. And then we take it to the end there. Now at the end, there's no click, so you kind of have to guess in this arrangement, unless there's a conductor, where to come in with those last hits. So that's a very quick talk down of this. And in this series, like I said, we're going to be doing some simpler tunes here and try to get you to understand how I read these charts through. So the next thing in this series is going to be about setting up figures, but I wanted to do this little introductory video here to talk about some books, show you the basics of the chart, and the next video we're going to break down how to catch figures. So we'll see you soon.